Okay, so very quickly we're going to go over the question you had for Christmas. Now, 3 bits of information they tell you in the question on your worksheet. They tell you that the curve is an ellipse. So the curve A, B, C, D is an ellipse. They tell you that the focal points are F1 and F2. Half the minor axis of the ellipse is 50 millimeters. They also tell you that here in the drawing. You're to determine the true length of the major axis and draw the given design showing clearly all construction lines. Okay, so what do we have as well? We have this 25 millimeter here, and we have this 30 millimeter here. So if I add the two of those together, I get 55, and that's how far out from the center my focal points are on both sides. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to find the focal points, we're going to find the minor circle, and from that, we're going to answer the first part of this question, which is determine the length, of the major axis. So, starting that off, we're going to draw our center axis in the middle of the page. Now, so I have this. All right, remember these are going to be your construction lines, so you're not going to do those too heavy. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down 50 millimeters. Oops, some pages moved. Hold on now. I'm going to measure down 50 millimeters. And the reason I'm going to measure down 50 millimeters is they already told us that half the minor axis is 50. So we're going to put that in now. I'm going to measure it from the center. Get that as accurate as possible. And just mark that off there. The other thing that we're going to mark off is that we're going to mark off the 55 millimeter out on one side there. And I'm going to label that F2. Now, if I'm accurate, if my compass is set up properly, I'll put the center point for my compass on the center of the axis. I'm going to stretch it out to 50 millimeters. And I'm going to swing my minor circle around just like that. Okay. Second thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to extend my compass out to the focal point that I drew on one side. And I'm going to copy that distance from the center exactly over here. And that's going to let me be a little bit more accurate. And I can label that F2. Sorry, F1. F1. It'd be handy if I knew my numbers. Okay. Once you have that, the information that you guys know from the classes is that the distance from the top of the minor circle, or the end of the minor circle, out to a focal point, this distance here, is the same distance as half the major axis. So if that's half of the major axis, I can copy that with my compass, just like this, and I can swing my arc all the way around. Swing my circle around. Now, I have this much. So what you're going to do now is you're going to put A here. And what was the other letter they had for you? They had C. And you're just going to highlight at the edge. So AC is the major axis. Because that's what they asked you for in the question. So just highlight that you know it. Okay. But that's out of the way. Now, what we're going to do next is our concentric circles method. I can find where the 3 sets were. Okay, so we're going to divide our concentric circles up into 30, 60. Remember doing this? Okay. So that we can draw our ellipse. Now, my lines are very, very heavy on this here, lads. The only reason they're this heavy is so that you can see them with the camera, because the light is a little bit strong. All right. Next thing you have then, if you're going to bring your lines down towards the major circle. So from the major circle towards the major axis. From the major circle towards the major axis. From the major circle. I'm going to keep saying it until it gets stuck in your head. Towards the major axis. And from the major circle towards the major axis. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go the other way. And we're going to have from the minor circle away from the minor axis. Now remember, this one was different. Okay, a little hint for you as well, lads. If you've lined these up properly with your T-square, depending if the axis here is horizontal, you'll be able to do both sides at the same time if you've done your work accurately, I should say. Okay, so I have all of these points. And what I can do now is I can draw in my ellipse. Nice and gentle. Just like that. Make sure it hits all the points. Try not to mess it up now. I've done too well so far. Okay. And we'll keep that going out down around the edge too. Down around the bottom half. And you'll take a little bit more time with this, lads, and just make sure it's a little bit tidier than what I'm doing. Take your time with it. There's nobody rushing you. I'm just rushing because YouTube won't let me upload a very big video. Okay, right. So we have our ellipse there. That's most of your marks on, but we've finished the design. Now, if you look at the question they gave you, they told you if you went out 25 millimeters, the center for your eyes are going to be along there. So we're going to go out 25 millimeters on both sides. Here and here. And we're going to bring a construction line up. Okay, so that's the center point for our eyes. Or sorry, the center point of our eyes lies along that. They've told you the center point is 20 millimeters up on the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure from the axis up 20 millimeters to this point. And where they cross over, where that 20 mil height crosses over, that's the center point for the eyes then. Okay. And they told you the radius of the eyes is 10 millimeters. So remember the radius of it, not the diameter, the radius. So we can do that. And I know some of you were saying the compass can be a bit tricky at this size. I know it. But I just need you to take your time and go over your circle a couple of times and it should come out then. Alright. Now, I see if my construction lines are a little bit lighter, this will be a bit tidier too. Okay. So I have my two eyes there. The one you were asking me for earlier now was how are you going to do the ears? Or how did you do the ears? So, what you need to look at is the relations on this. So it goes from the center point to up here somewhere. It crosses over a line that's 45 millimeters high plus the 20. But you also have a line coming up from the focal point. So if I redraw the line coming up from the focal point, and if I put a height line along here that's 65 millimeters, so 20 plus the 45. If I put a line across here at 65 millimeters high, I should get this point here, and I can join the center to there then. So we'll see how that goes. So I have to draw in a height line of 65. That's there. That's going to go out over the focal points. Okay. I'm going to bring the focal points up just to make sure I get that intersection exact. Now, what I need to do for the cat is if I connect this eye to the one on the left-hand side, I can do my construction line all the way along, and this part up to where it hits the curve is heavy. And I can draw this one in, again from the point to the curve, nice and heavy. if I connect from the center of this circle out to this one, again, I can draw my construction line all the way along and just make sure that's properly heavy from the curve out to that point there. And from that point there, down. Now, that's our cat nearly done. There's one last thing on this I think you're going to find tricky. Okay? Well, two things. Right. The snout here. You're going to bring down the edge from the corner of the circle, or from the corner of the circle, from the edge of the circle, I should say, from where this edge is. And you're going to bring that down to the center line. You're going to swing a radius of 30 then as well. This line here, see the way they've given you a line going from here to here, right? That's actually a 45 degrees. Okay, and we'll go through that in a minute, but if you were to take this here as one full circle, and if they had drawn that entire rectangle, or sorry, that entire square, you'd have this entire angle here would be 90 degrees, that entire angle there is 90 degrees. So half of it must be 45. So there's a little bit of maths involved here. So we're going to draw his snout there. And then the last thing is going to be the whiskers. So, as I said, we come down from the edge of the eye. Come down from the edge of the eye to here. And come down from the inner edge of the eye to here. Okay, that's this point here and this point here at the moment. I'm going to set my compass to a radius of 30. Okay. And I'm going to put my needle on that point that we brought down. So make sure it's the P point. And I'm going to swing that arc to where it hits the center axis again. You see that? I'm going to move them over to the other P. And if I've done my work correctly again, that will move just like that. Okay. Last part, lads. So this was 45 degrees from that P to the center. 45 degrees from the P to the center line. All right. They have another little circle in here. So if I was put my center point here, I can draw that semicircle that they're looking for. Okay. And the last thing then is the whiskers. I'm not too worried about the whiskers because it's very rare in an exam that they're going to ask you for 6 degrees, 6 degrees, and 6 degrees. But all it is that you're going to set your compass to 60 because that's the distance they give you. Now it's 60 again from that point P. My apologies, I need better glasses. 80 from that point P. Okay? So from 80, swing from point P and just swing an arc there. Do the same on the other side again from point P on the other side. All right, we're nearly there then. They want you to go down 30 degrees. You'll get that with your set squares. You go out, you get your starting point for your first whisker by doing this, which will be 30 degrees out to here. Again from point P. So that point P becomes very, very important at the end. I can do that on the other side too. And I just, honestly, lads, I don't have a protractor to hand. All you'll do then is you're going to measure 6 mm out. And if you measure 6 degrees out, you'll be able to draw your next whisker. And I'm just going to eyeball it here. And your next whisker. You only need to do that on one side though. Because what you can do is you can bring that whisker end over to here. That whisker end over to here. And finish your drawing just like that. Okay. And that's your cat done then. So if you have any questions about it, lads, feel free to ask me. I know this video is kind of long. It's also kind of rushed. but the advantage to it is that you're going to be able to play it back and slow it down and pause it in places. Okay, that's it for this one.